I'm just going to open up the video by saying I am triggered. And I know this is a dumb thing to get worked up over, and no one cares about the Pro Bowl, but every year as sports fans, we say the Pro Bowl is dumb, it doesn't matter, and then when the votes come out, we all of a sudden care a lot about the Pro Bowl. And I think that's because when we go back and grade a player's career, one of the points that we often use when trying to say who's better, player A or player B, is how many Pro Bowls did they make? And then the votes matter. But the Pro Bowl rosters and starters were announced, and there's still a week to go in the regular season, by the way. I feel like that has not been discussed enough. It's very strange to have the Pro Bowls for the entire season be announced before the season is done. But the Broncos had 3 players selected to the Pro Bowl as starters. Patrick Surtain, his 3rd nomination. Nik Bonitto, first time making the Pro Bowl, so congratulations to Nick. Very well earned. His 11.5 sacks and 2 defensive touchdowns definitely paved the way for him going to the games. And then Marvin Mims for a 2nd straight season as a punt returner special teams guy. So congrats to all 3 of these guys. They definitely earned it, and I'm super excited for them. But Denver should have more than 3 players, if we're being honest. Here are some of the players that are snubs. They are alternates, and they will likely, a combination of these guys, will be invited when players inevitably opt not to go. But one really jumps out to me, and that is defensive lineman Zach Allen. You know, the guy who leads all interior defensive linemen in pressures. Yeah, that Zach Allen is a 4th guy on the roster. Not like 4th, 1, 2, I mean starters, 2nd stringers, 3rd, all the way down at the bottom. If you think he was snubbed, let's get 990 likes for number 99. Zach Allen definitely deserves a spot at the Pro Bowl games, and it's a little BS, to be honest with you, that he was not included in the first batch of Pro Bowl starters. So, if you don't believe me, allow me to convince you why I am triggered over this, because he had an incredible season. It's still going on, by the way. There is still one more game to be played, which somehow the NFL just chose to ignore. But here are the 3 guys that were picked to start over Allen: Cameron Hayward, Chris Jones, and Nadmi Madubuike from the Baltimore Ravens. All 3 good players, very notable. We all know Chris Jones. We all know Cam Hayward, and Madubuike really had that breakout season a year ago. But let's do a little blind resume, shall we? Look at these 4 players right here and tell me who the top 3 are. You've got, from left to right, 70 tackles, 60, then a big drop-off to 39, 37. Tackles for loss, the leader in the clubhouse is player B. Sacks, the leader in clubhouse is player B. So player B leads the NFL amongst defensive linemen there in tackle, or of these 4 players, tackles for loss and sacks, and is 2nd in overall tackles. Can you guess which one player B is? Yeah, it's Zach Allen, who I would say of the 4 has the best resume. Sure, Cam Hayward, 10 more tackles. But I'll take the 3 extra tackles for loss and an extra half a sack over 10 more tackles. And I would definitely take all 3 of those numbers over anything Madubuike or Jones has done this year. This was a complete popularity contest, which I know that's nothing new. But to be honest, it's BS that fans get to vote. And I'm saying that from someone who would vote it as a fan. But fans are dumb. Fans are dumb. They don't watch all the games. They go after the names they recognize. It's honestly somewhat astonishing that the fans didn't vote Patrick Mahomes in, so I am kind of proud of the fans for not doing that because he was not a Pro Bowl player this year. But Chris Jones has no business being there. Travis Kelce, by the way, led the entire National Football League in Pro Bowl votes. In the worst season of his career since year 1. A little over 800 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm not saying he led all tight ends. I'm saying he led all Pro Bowl voting. It's like the Ron Swanson, I want a lot of eggs and bacon. Actually, I'm afraid what you heard is I said I want a lot. I want all the eggs and bacon. How does Travis Kelce, in a bad year, 800 yards, 3 touchdowns, lead every single player in Pro Bowl voting? Obviously, the Swifties came in big for him, but this is just a farce. This is a joke. Zach Allen should not just be a Pro Bowl guy. He should be starting. He was the best in the NFL at what he did this year. And he got rewarded by being fourth alternate. It's a complete joke. And I know it's dumb to get worked up over this. I get it. And if I were in your shoes watching me right now, I'd probably say, PD, relax. It's Pro Bowl voting. Who cares? But this one day of the year, I do care. I won't care tomorrow, but this day I do care because there should be some level of recognition given to players who have monster years. But unfortunately, I guess when you play on the anonymous crush, that is the Denver Broncos defense, no one cares to learn your name. All right, before we talk about the defense, by the way, because ESPN put out a really juicy article outlining what they're hearing when it comes to coaching buzz, including a Broncos coach, I do have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. So here's an example of my selections for this upcoming week. I invite everyone watching right now to download the PrizePicks app, use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Let's talk a little bit about Vance Joseph, because he was mentioned by name in this Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano ESPN article of all the things they're hearing going into Week 18, and I thought this part might jump out to you. So here's what Dan Graziano wrote. I still think you're going to hear the name of Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph in this year's interview cycle. He's a former head coach who has Denver's defense playing extremely well. And with teams sounding like they'll prioritize previous head coaching experience, I expect Joseph to get attention. Vance Joseph, in my eyes, is approaching that perfect sweet spot as a defensive coordinator, where his defense is not going to be number one in the league at everything, and he automatically is going to be a head coach next offseason, but it's going to be just as bad as it sounds, bad enough as a defense where you still want him as your defensive coordinator for all the pros, but he's not going to get hired away as a head coach. And that's kind of the beauty as a head coach. This will sound kind of strange, and maybe it's a bad take, but you got that sweet spot of like, can I just get a coordinator who will take pride in killing the opposing quarterback, but never do a complete great enough job that I lose him after a phenomenal season? Like, offensive coordinators, that happens a lot. Defensive coordinators, it's not bad as a head coach if you're like, hey, can I just get someone who doesn't mind spending the rest of their NFL coaching days joining me in a path to hunt down every single opposing QB and not do so well of a job that another team hires you. I think Vance Joseph might be in that spot right there. And that's perfectly fine with me. As for Vance Joseph potentially getting hired away, though, it's tough to get a second opportunity in the NFL. Like, retreads, they definitely happen, but I think the first chance had to go somewhat well. It did not go very well for him in Denver, right? Whenever we see guys get a second opportunity, take like Dan Quinn, for example. There was something in their first stint that made you pretty, optimistic that they can get you to the promised land. And for Quinn, we know how far he got with the Falcons. Vance Joseph, I don't think we saw anything from that first stint as Denver's head coach to believe. Yeah, that's someone who I think, was just there the first time, but, learn from your mistakes and the second opportunity, it'll go much smoother. I don't mind a retread if it's the right guy. I don't like the idea of like, no, we can't hire him. It didn't work out the last time. All right, Bill Belichick's a retread. Pete Carroll's a retread. Like, some guys just need opportunities to learn from their mistakes. But for Vance Joseph, I don't think that opportunity is going to come. I don't think the defense in December, which recency bias is going to kick in for sure when January interviews start, is going to do him any favors in those interviews. So I don't have much fear at all about Vance Joseph getting hired away to be another team's head coach. I fully expect him to come back and be Denver's DC in 2025. The Broncos defense this year, 19.4 points allowed per game. Fortunately, December has been a different story. It has not been a December to remember. I mean, 3 games with 30 or more points allowed. The Browns game, the Chargers game, and the Bengals game. Now, the Browns game was just a little bit quirky because you got full Jameis and Jerry Jeudy revenge moment going on, but still, you don't want to see that happen to your defense. And then the Chargers game, I only put like 27, what is it? Like 3 points has to go to special teams because it's not like the defense had any part of that final field goal to end the first half. And then the Bengals game, I know I'm kind of just being a big defender here, but it went to overtime. So, yeah, no surprise when you add more time to the clock, more points and more yards happen as a result. Before we get on out of here, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I do love to know who's a part of the end of the video crew. It's great to see some of the names and faces in the chat, so please type DEN in the comment section below if you're still watching right now, while I give some shout-outs to the Blue and Orange Club. Slap Yourself, I Don't Give a Buck, John E., Anthony, Bobby, Rick, Daniel, CPJ, and Bulwark. Thank you guys so much for consistently supporting the channel all season long. We will have a watch party, and hopefully not the final watch party of the season, for the Chiefs game in Week 18. So come by and watch the game with us. If you've never joined a Broncos Breakdown watch party before, it's a great way to take the game in. So subscribe, that way you don't miss out, and I'll see everyone before kickoff for sure.